Hi, ladies. Today we are catching up with the lovely Kate O'Mealy. Hi, Kate. How are you?
Good, Danielle. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Now, for those that don't know Kate, Kate's from Oh My Word. She's a copywriter, a writing coach, and professional typo spotter. And I'm sure if you follow her on socials, you will have been amused by many of Kate's typo spotting. Kate teaches small businesses, startups, and solopreneurs how to communicate better online, in print, and in person to get the results that they want and to see their business flourish and grow. So thanks again for joining us, Kate. And today we are discussing all things content writing.
We are.
We are.
Exciting.
So I think we just really want to start with, what are the things that we need to remember about our audience in particular when we're starting to write this content?
Yeah, definitely. I think I should say first up that one of the things that I speak to clients about pretty regularly when it comes to writing is that they just find it totally frustrating and overwhelming, and they put it in the too hard basket and they go, you know what, it's all just too hard. I'm not a natural writer. Or they'll say, I know what I want to say, but I just can't find the right words. And then a wall goes up and they go, oh, too hard, won't do it. So I think it's about just generally when you come to writing for your own business is not to overthink it. It doesn't have to be tricky, and there's a few easy steps that you can take that will sort of demystify the whole process and just make it a whole lot easier, because every business owner has so many other things that they need to be focusing on, and writing for your business shouldn't be one of the things that you dread every week, and writing for socials and blogs and all that sort of stuff. So I'd love to take you all through some easy steps on how to make writing in your business that little bit easier. So the first thing that I would focus on is your audience. So who are you talking to, and really nutting out who that audience is and who your target clients are, so you're not being too wishy-washy, which is the technical term. So when it comes to writing for your business, defining your audience is definitely the key. And so, if your target market is too broad, then the risk is that your message becomes all a bit too wishy-washy, and it's going to get lost in the crowd of all the social media posts, all the content that's flying around the interwebs, and your message gets lost in the crowd.
That's really interesting that you mentioned it. I'm just thinking because within the Shield Shine community, a lot of our members have niched their business in a way that helps with that. So it helps you stand out because you're only talking about this particular aspect of this particular business, as opposed to trying to talk about everything.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things to make the process easier for business owners as well is to think that it's really just giving people snippets of information at a time. You don't need to give them all of the things that you do all in one go. It's about building on your profile, building on the education that you want to share with people to start demonstrating a couple of things. So demonstrating that you know what you're talking about, that you're super professional in what you do. So that's great. You're building, bit by bit, you're sort of sharing information to go, you know what, I know what I'm talking about. The next thing is, again, sharing tidbits of information to start building a rapport with your clients or potential purchasers. So building a rapport, that likability factor, that people go, you know what, if I'm going to buy this particular product or service, I like this. I like this person. Yep, I definitely want to buy from them, or I definitely want to work with them. The next thing is also having those little tidbits of information, again, not overwhelming, to make it really easy for people and for potential clients to take that next step. And the next step is the call to action. So you want them to make an action, and you want them to buy, ideally. So it's all those little things that you're putting in place bit by bit, shelling out little bits of information and snippets, so people are getting to know you. So by no means do you need to go, okay, I've got, I've written a 2,000 word blog and I'm going to share that to everyone. I'm going to go into heaps of detail about what my blog's about. No, you want to make it really palatable, particularly with an online, in online space. People read very quickly. They're reading short bits of information, subheadings, titles. So you really don't need to be offering everything that you've got in your toolkit of information, or every service or every product that you offer. Think bite size, think snippet.
So when we're talking about content, I guess we're talking about everything, aren't we? So we're talking about blogs, we're talking about social media posts, we're talking about content we have on our website, just about our service, so everything that all encompasses. So I guess with those tidbits, you could kind of have them leading into each other, so it's all interconnected, and you're always leading back to that website where you're selling your services.
Yeah, well, absolutely. If we go back to that very basic, what is content? What is it exactly? So it's more than just your posts on social media. It encompasses all the things that you can develop and create to promote your professional skills and your business. So blogging is often considered the cornerstone of any content marketing plan. And it's a fantastic way to focus on specific topics or issues that your clients might be thinking about, or even for you to provide some commentary or your take on an industry topic or something, something that's topical. But maybe once you've mastered the blog, or you're looking for other things to sort of create that also demonstrate your abilities and your professionalism, there's heaps of other things that you could do. So there's things like, an ebook or an online guide. Maybe you've got some downloadable templates or checklists, video content. It might be something short like, a tip or a hack, or a shortcut, particularly if you're in a service-based business. Perhaps it's, you're a bookkeeper or a marketer or whatever it might be. You might provide a little quick workaround that you do every day in your business that could help your clients. There's lots of things. And I guess in terms of, the different types of content, there's also, a longer read. So a blog or a white paper or an ebook, or a chapter of an ebook might be quite a long piece of content to research and put together. Whereas, maybe an infographic or a little checklist might be something that you've got already, but you need to just repackage it and then put it out to the world via social media, or, through a newsletter or something like that. So, there's, I guess, lots of potential content in your business. Yeah. I think that's also one of the things that people find a bit overwhelming, is where do I get all this content from? Yeah. A lot of it you probably already have. You've probably got quite a few things that you could work from today, but it's about packaging it up in the right way, promoting it in small little bite-sized pieces, and bringing people back to, say, your website. So if I give an example of that, so potentially you've written a blog on some industry changes that are coming up in, say you're a physiotherapist and there's some industry changes happening as part of, the health fund renewal at the beginning of April. So there's something coming up, you've written a blog about it, and you've got it sitting on your website. But of course we want people to go to the website to read it.
To know about it.
Yeah, to know about it. So one post might be, hey, new blog's up. Great, direct people to that. But you might also pull out key messages from that blog. It might be, say 1,200 words, or even longer. You're pulling out those key messages and then sharing those in bite-sized bits. So breaking it down and finding the key messages and pulling that out. So, and then that's another social media post. Again, call to action then is bringing people back to your website, or advertising one of your services as well. So it's always about thinking about what's the greater call to action that you want people to do, and directing them to make contact with you based on the information that you're sharing and the knowledge that you're presenting. And one of the other things as well is, when you're sharing all this content, it's not necessarily about blowing your own trumpet every single time to go, rah, rah, I've got a sale on, I've got a great deal, I've got this, I've got that, buy now, like all that sort of salesy stuff. It's not necessarily the type of content that you want to be sharing all the time. There's definitely that balance between promoting salesy stuff, because, obviously we're in business to to make money, and that's okay.
Is there a percentage? I'm sure I've heard a percentage of kind of content versus sales, like info versus sales.
Yeah, totally. There's a bit of a ratio that gets thrown around, which is sort of one salesy post to every 3 sort of information sharing, personality, behind the scenes sort of stuff. So absolutely it is okay to do a bit of a sales pitch or spruik your business, quite candidly, but to balance that out so people don't feel overwhelmed. It's going, all they're doing is spruiking their stuff constantly, because that, as an audience member, if you think about the businesses that do that sort of stuff, it's a bit abrasive. If it's what's his name, Frank, the guy that sells the furniture, or the
Franco Cozzo.
Franco Cozzo.
How could you forget his name?
I know, sorry. I can see his face, that mural on the wall. Or the national
Megalo.
Yeah. Or the National Tiles ads.
Yes.
That's really, really spooky. And
he's another Frank Walker from National Tiles.
Oh, is it? Oh, there you go. It's all in those Franks. I need to watch their content. But yeah, you can imagine, like, if you were doing that sort of advertising in your business constantly and not balancing it out with a little bit of information sharing to go, you know what? Yes, I can be totally salesy and talk about National Tiles. But it's really about balancing out what's behind your business, what makes you tick, sharing your professionalism and your knowledge, and giving that for free. You're sharing information, and social media, it's all in the name, it's social, right? So there is that element of sharing and educating and building your profile, and doing that in a way where you're giving and sharing information rather than just sort of pitching constantly.
And I guess one thing that we've been talking about in our member group lately is unique selling proposition. So I guess it's the way you do that. It's the words you use, it's the tone that you're using to express those things, because that's what's going to differentiate you from the next business. And that's how you develop that personality as well. And
I think having a unique selling proposition and also sharing a little bit about yourself is really critical when you're a sole trader. Or a solopreneur, or whatever you want to call yourself, because as a solo business person, you are the brand, you are the person, in the business, and that's often the deciding factor for clients to determine whether they want to work with you or not, as opposed to someone else that does the same work as you in another business. If you can build a rapport with them through sharing information and knowledge and a little bit about yourself, it sort of helps people to sort of self-vet before they even make contact with you. So they can sort of determine whether, definitely, I like Danielle. She seems like, my sense of humour and her working style is similar to mine. Yeah, definitely, I think I could work with her, and, compared to another similar organisation. So I definitely think that being able to share a little bit about your personality in your content and why you do what you do is again another source of content. Yeah.
And so what do we do, Kate? So I've blocked out the afternoon or the morning to sit down and write down my, I'm going to churn out 5 blogs this afternoon. Let's do it.
That's ballsy.
High goals here, big goals.
High goals.
So sit down at my computer. I'm right here. I'm ready. I've opened up Word. I'm ready to go.
Okay, so we're going to get
no ideas.
I'm going to get old school with you. You can use your laptop, but I like doing this with a pen and paper.
I haven't done that for years. There you go. That's the secret.
You can do it with typing, but I find it better with pen and paper. So what we're going to do, it's called the 5-minute content challenge. So 5 minutes is really not that much time out of your day or your week to really just have a little bit of time to focus. So what you can do is grab your piece of paper and pen and set the timer on your phone for 5 minutes. And then what you're going to do is write down every content idea that pops into your head. Word of warning, they're not all going to be good, and that is okay. But the idea is that you're writing down every single one of them, and we're adopting a stream of consciousness approach. Again, a fancy term for a brain dump. But the trick is just to keep writing the whole time and not to edit as you go. You can do that. You can do the editing a bit later. But you'd be really surprised how much you can jot down in 5 minutes. So perhaps, you might say, okay, in this 5 minutes, I'm going to focus on blog ideas for the next, 4 weeks. I'm going to, come out with some blog ideas, or some tips and tricks that you might want to do as a video. And again, you don't even need to think about the format of what it's going to be, but it's really just not getting all those ideas out of your head and down on paper, and then you can format that into more of a comprehensive sort of content plan. But a couple of ideas to get you started. So one might be, a blog topic. It might be some changes in your industry, and you're going to do a blog on your opinion about these changes or some commentary about that. Another idea might be a behind the scenes. So what does your workspace look like? Danielle, your workspace is always immaculate. But
You're lucky. I cleaned it yesterday because I knew you'd see it in today's podcast.
And I moved the washing out of mine. So a little bit of behind the scenes. Where do you work? What does your desk look like? Particularly if you're in industry, like maybe if you're a drafter or an architect or something like that.
It looks a bit different than everybody else's.
Different. It's not just the photo from above of someone's laptop and a cup of tea. Like it's, you've got some interesting things happening there. Perhaps it's some tips and tricks on a relevant topic, or even, end of the week, Friday, something personal and lighthearted about where you're going to go on the weekend, a destination shot. So it doesn't always have to be serious business persona. Particularly if you're a small business or a solo business, and again, it's all about, you are the face of your brand, that you can be a little bit, if you're lighthearted and pretty irreverent, let that show. That is totally okay. You don't need to have this super professional, image constantly if sometimes you're not like that.
I think the lovely one of our shiners, Stacy Price of Healthy Business Finances, does this amazingly well. She's a bookkeeper and accountant, which is generally considered a dry industry and a dry occupation. But in her blogs and across her socials, her personality shines through. So she might be a good one just to see how you can take one industry and blog about it in such a different way as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I really like how Stacy shares her knowledge about the industry. Like you said, it can be considered a bit of a dry topic, but she can be, pretty irreverent with her commentary, and that's what her personality is like. And then she'll balance that with what chocolate bar is she eating today? It's her afternoon tea. So, it doesn't always have to be really industry heavy, dense subject matter. It can be a bit lighter, light and shade.
And is it, just these 5 minutes, some people might struggle, they might sit there and twiddle their thumbs for a bit. Doing it in pairs or doing it like for other people's businesses is generally easier than doing it for your own, we've found.
Totally.
So it could be a good idea to get together and sort of grab a takeaway coffee, sit in the park together and just churn out these ideas for each other. Yeah,
and often that works really well if you've got the luxury of having someone nearby that knows a little bit about your business, or even doesn't know a lot about your business. That can be really helpful because they can jot down a whole bunch of ideas that you might not have considered. Sometimes if you're a bit too close to your business, it's hard to get started. But if someone doesn't know what a bookkeeper does or doesn't know what a copywriter does and has questions about that, perhaps another business owner might say, here are some questions I'd really like to know about your business that you might not have considered. So, definitely teaming up with somebody and, doing a little bit of a timed content challenge, can be really helpful for both businesses. And it's a great sort of little opportunity then to have, an instant focus group, really, because you've got someone that's awesome. A potential client or is, standing in as a potential customer to give you sort of questions and ideas about your business.
Yeah. And I guess that ties in really well then. I know that, we're just talking about what exactly is it you're talking about. You want to tell your clients how you can solve their problems.
Mm.
So if you've got someone there saying, well, how would this work and what can you help me with, then that's the perfect, I guess, topic generator to start.
Yeah. And it also helps when you're taking a little bit of a step away from your business, that you're not using jargon and the very technical language. I think many of us sort of fall into that trap of, when you're in the thick of your own business, you use, the terminology or lingo. But having somebody else sort of looking at your content or coming up with ideas can really simplify that message. And sometimes we forget that, people might not know about what we do, and the technical aspects, and sometimes it really does need to be simplified for a general audience.
I know we really have to take ourselves away from the core of the business to kind of get that outside perspective.
Yeah,
which is always
absolutely.
easier with someone else, as we're saying. Yeah,
absolutely. The other thing I do in terms of taking a little bit of a step away is getting people. I often get my mum to read stuff or anybody to kind of go, does this make sense to you? Because if my mum can understand it and she goes, oh, yep, I understand that, then great. Then I can assume that the message is coming through. And so if you've got, a partner or a friend or a mum, then getting someone to, maybe read through your blog and say, is this a bit, is it a bit too technical, a bit too much jargon? I wanted to say this, is that coming across? To have someone to be able to proofread and give you a second pair of eyes, not just for, spell check, but from a messaging
key
point
messaging.
That sort of helps you refine your voice when it comes to writing. Makes sure that your time and effort is well spent and you're getting bang for buck, that you're sort of going, okay, if I'm investing all this time and energy into writing a blog, that people are going to understand it before you put it out to the world and you share.
And I guess that's the thing, if you've got some big thing you want to cover, break it up into smaller doses. So there's 5 blog posts instead of 1, winning there.
Yes.
But also you're keeping each of those 5 messages simple as opposed to all in one and, overwhelming everybody.
Definitely. And then you can sort of get a bit deeper into particular subjects. So rather than just sort of tackling something quite broadly, absolutely, split it into 2 or 3 blogs and focus on them in detail. And then within that blog, then you might have 2 or 3, themes that you might be able to share again in different formats. So, I think many business owners would be very surprised how much content they've got either already in their business that's probably sitting on their laptop in a drive and you just need to sort of pull it all together. Or that's rattling around in their head and they just really need to get it out onto paper.
Now, Kate, you have a content checklist.
I do.
Can you share it with us?
I'd love to. It's my 5 C's, my 5 C's, as in the letter C. And these are all really super important things to remember when developing good content for your business. The first of the C's is consistency. Consistency in your message, your tone of voice. Are clients getting the same style across all of your communication? So online, in print, in person. If they were to meet you at a networking event, are you giving off the same personality as you do on your website or your blog? I think it's really, from a branding point of view, that's really important to keep in mind. So if you're quite lighthearted in person, but you're very, very serious in your blog and very technical and, it doesn't match. It doesn't match. So, so just sort of considering that tone of voice and messaging is consistent.
So literally just being yourself across all areas, because it's too hard to be 2 people, let alone 3 people, etc. So just keep it simple. And
I think, just on that as well, like in terms of writing style, it doesn't always, I think a lot of people think that they're writing an essay back in high school, that it has to be very formal and structured. No, you just get your ideas out. It's okay. You can always edit it later.
Can I add on to that? Every time I write something and I start a sentence with and or because, the high school student inside me goes, oh my gosh, my teacher's going to correct it. Like, no, just keep going. Just keep going.
I started a sentence with but. So, yeah.
And you're a copywriter.
When you know the grammar rules, you can break the grammar rules.
Love it.
Okay. So the next one on the list is being clear. So what do you want clients to do once they've seen your blog or your article? So that's about your call to action. What do you want them to do?
Should we have a call to action on every single piece of communication we put out in the world?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, totally should. Whether it's picking up the phone, whether it's buying something, whether it's directing them back to the website to read more about the blog, or perhaps you've got a workshop, more information, join my workshop. Absolutely. You don't want to leave them hanging. You want them to do something, ideally, with the information that you've shared. And also, it might not be, transacting. It might be engaging. It might be on social media and leaving a comment, or on Facebook and leaving a comment and, being part of the discussion. Like, it's not necessarily,
It doesn't have to end in a transaction. As
correct.
Such.
Yeah.
Monetary transaction. Yeah.
And just on clear, not using jargon or confusing language. And that sort of goes back to tone of voice and messaging. You want people to understand it and be clear. The next one on this checklist is customer focused. So, let's be straight up and down. It's not about you. It's more about them. So what's in it for your clients, and is it being customer focused? Yes, there's absolutely a reason to talk about yourself and talk about your business and why your business is so great, but in the context of what problem am I helping to solve? What problem do clients have that I can help solve? Rather than just, sort of tooting your own trumpet. So it's always needs to be customer focused. The next one on my checklist is compelling. So is it informative? Is it to educate? Why should clients work with you or buy something from you? So it does need to be compelling, that, that you should, perhaps it's sharing that, you've been in a particular industry for 20 years and these are some of the things that you've seen change over that time. So, you're sort of sharing that your learnings, or but also demonstrating, I've been in this industry for 20 years, so I know what I'm talking about. I'm quite, I've done my, done the hard yards or whatnot. So it does need to be compelling. And the last one, Danielle, I know you are not surprised by this one on my checklist, is check the spelling. It is the quickest way to look unprofessional. So whether that's asking a friend to proofread your work, or use spell check or Grammarly, we can go old school, use a dictionary.
Yeah.
That's
Can I just say in that, if I I might write a social media post on my phone, whatever, and I post it, and then I go back like maybe 10 minutes later and I spot an error and I quickly change it. I'm like, the first thing I think is, oh my God, has Kate seen it? She's gonna kill me.
You know what? If I saw it, I would tell you. I would quietly private message you and say, hey,
that's the friend you are. Thanks for having my back, Kate.
Yeah, I do, always. So look, in summary, there is no excuses for bad spelling these days. Like and it's not coming from that place of just me being very wordy, but it just doesn't look professional. It doesn't. And yes, I've got you back. I don't want people looking at you going, oh, she's got all these errors in her.
Yeah, I'm going to come in from a designer perspective back in my heyday, and too many spaces, like you have a full stop and you have one space, and you have a full stop and then you have two spaces. Can't handle it. Keep it consistent, people.
There you go. That was the first one on our checklist. Consistency.
Yeah, see? Yeah.
But definitely coming from that place of, if you're putting all this time and effort into creating content, writing blogs and getting it checked, and having a content plan in the first place, and being super organized in that regard, yeah, it's just those sort of like dotting the I's, crossing the T's. It's just those last little things that you want that are really easy to overlook. Don't get me wrong, they are so easy to overlook, and I do it as well. But you just wouldn't want someone to make the decision to not use your services or products because of it looking a little bit unprofessional. So yes, clearly that's my bugbear, but it's for the greater good.
For the good of the people.
Use Grammarly is your friend. Spell check is your friend. So
now, I have one question that I thought of when we were talking about consistency. How often should we be blogging? Like,
great question.
I know that I fail this miserably, but for the great people of the writing blog world.
Yeah, look, I think whatever your capacity is, but I think same with newsletters.
Yeah, good point.
Well, and social media, really.
Yeah.
But it's about doing things regularly. So if that means weekly for you, if it means monthly, whatever works. But I guess, we've all seen those websites where you'd have a look at their blog and they haven't updated it in 2 years, and you're like, they mustn't really be feeling this business much. And also, like with blogs and newsletters, they don't necessarily have to be long. Like, they don't have to be an essay or an epic work, but I think it's more about timeliness, and particularly if you sort of making comment on something that's happening in the world or your business or your industry, that that you're sort of doing it when it's current. With newsletters, I don't know about you, Danielle, but I unsubscribed to a whole lot of emails lately.
Yes.
And maybe newsletters aren't where your clients hang. Be honest with yourself about where your clients are. How do they get information?
And it's about those touch points, all of the touch points in general. So, maybe you're not sending a newsletter, but you're reaching them across socials, or you're doing it via a Facebook group, whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
It's having that range of touch points. I guess the one thing is really not relying just on one as well.
Correct. And the other thing that I've been doing a lot of lately, and I've been suggesting to my clients when a newsletter just feels like way too much work and effort to be able to manage on a regular basis, is if you have a bunch of clients, particularly if you maybe this might work better if you're in an industry, you might just send out a quick email that might be a couple of paragraphs with a link to an article to say, look, this has been happening in our industry and could be relevant. I was thinking of you, thought it could be relevant for your business. Hey, if you want to chat about it, give me a call, and send them the link. So it's sort of, a bit more personal than, sending out a bulk newsletter.
Templated sort of.
Where people go, unsubscribe. But it might just be a couple of paragraphs, which again, timely and topical. And you might just do that on an ad hoc basis. Yeah. In addition to all your other things that you plan out on a more, regular sort of thing. But I feel that's been working for myself and a few clients, where you see something and you just go, oh, hey, I just saw this. Thought it might be relevant to your business if you haven't seen it. You know, so they sort of, it's a great way to sort of re-engage.
It's personal. It becomes personal.
Yeah, absolutely. So, perhaps you might want to add that as one of your touch points if a newsletter sort of might be feeling a bit overwhelming.
Yeah. And I kind of find with the newsletter, you send out this newsletter that, for me, that's my biggest procrastination, trying to write a newsletter. Yeah. And you send it out, and then you get your statistics of who reads it and who opens it. And
it's cruel.
Oh, my God. And so then you put out a social media post and you get comments and likes. Like, oh, they love me again.
See, I think, variety is the spice of life. Yes, you need multiple touch points, but if you be real with yourself, have a look at the, every, say, maybe 3 months or 6 months, do a little bit of analysis about where your clients are, where do they like to get information, and then invest your time accordingly. So, if no one's reading a newsletter and you're spending a whole bunch of time on it, stop. Yeah. Stop. Try something else. Doesn't mean you're retiring it forever, but And that's the other thing, like particularly with newsletters, if you're asking people to subscribe on your website to something, to a newsletter, remember to send them a newsletter. Like it, like you know what I mean? Like you sort of, thinking about, okay, if I'm asking for people to take action and to give me their details, what am I doing with that information? Am I contacting them on a regular basis with a newsletter? Or am I sending them out a monthly checklist or something? Something.
Yeah.
So
okay. I'm going to take this opportunity to say sorry to all of my She Was Shy subscribers.
My bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just think that, being like, we are all so busy, like, and writing for your business is one of those extra things that, it's on the list of things to do. In terms of, planning stuff out and working out how to distribute that information, maybe start with two platforms. Maybe you're going to do Facebook and you're going to do I don't know, a monthly blog. Let's go monthly. That seems reasonable. And you're going to do 500 words, so that's not too long. But you're creating more content for your website, which helps in terms of SEO and Google search and having more current, refreshed information. Just choose two things and then share as much as you can. Break it up into bits, and get it out there. And then once you've nailed that, you add in an extra piece. I think I would prefer to see clients having consistent information getting put out there on a regular, semi-regular basis than going all guns blazing for a blog every 6 months and it just sort of falling flat. So,
there's nothing worse. It's like across social and across your website as well. If someone comes to your website or comes to your social media Facebook page and you haven't had activity since 2017 on that, you just automatically think, well, the business obviously is closed down or something's happened, so you wouldn't bother. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I think keeping things achievable I think trying to take that overwhelm out of things, making things bite-sized is great for clients and it's great for you in developing it. Just to trying to make it's less of that challenge of being, oh God, it's just another thing for me to do. It's not one of my favorite things, so I'm just it's gonna keep falling down the list. So
make it enjoyable.
It's enjoyable. You can certainly take the frustration out of it by creating a little bit of structure around
what that 5-minute challenge, having that ideas there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Kate. It's always a pleasure to chat.
Oh, I know. We could
go all day.
We could. We really could. We could.
But, that's awesome. Some ideas there. And we have a blog as well where Kate has summed all that up perfectly for everybody to check out as well. So thanks, Kate, coming to us from sunny Wollongong today, is it?
Overcast.
Sunny Melbourne. So there you go.
Melbourne. Wow. Stranger things have happened.
That's right.
Well, thank you for having me. Yes, and all those juicy details are in the blog.
Perfect. Thanks, Kate. We'll chat to you soon.
Great. Thanks, Anne. Bye.
Bye.